You've increased your guidance. Other businesses, I'm thinking of one that reported yesterday, struggling a bit more perhaps in Asia. How do you think you've managed to navigate some of the lockdowns and the issues that other businesses have suffered from in Asia?
Good morning. Yes, indeed, it was a volatile quarter, but we have been able to really report good figures, and that was spread across our different regions, so we were not depending on one or the other region. Indeed, China has done well by a growth of 11% in Q3 in volume, which of course helped very much our Asian business. Asia, or the rest of Asia, was more difficult because they were hit by COVID, with regards to India, Vietnam and Laos. We still suffer from that, although India was already 30% in volume up versus a very poor quarter last year.
Do you have concerns, Kees, that things could deteriorate in parts of the world where vaccination rates are not as high as in Western Europe and North America? Is that something that you're bracing for?
Yes, you're very right. It very much depends on the vaccination rate. Some countries are very low in vaccination and therefore still suffer from lockdowns. Other countries, especially in Western Europe, are now at reasonably high vaccination rates, and by that we see also the on-trade coming back. We're a bit concerned about Eastern Europe, where the rates of COVID are increasing, for example, in Russia. On the other hand, we see vaccinations going up, for example, in Cambodia, close to the 80% now, and that, of course, helps for our business.
OK, so the concern is around perhaps parts of Asia, but also that Eastern European story, which is interesting. In terms of the cost base, Kees, how hurt are you by higher costs? I know that in the short term, hedging, of course, can shelter you from the impacts of higher raw material prices. But when do you expect those to really hit you?
Yeah, indeed. The hedges helped us very much in 2021. We're now facing, indeed, some headwinds in raw and pack materials, utilities. And in that respect, we are really having steps to make for 2022. We see an increase in our costs, and of course, we need to mitigate these.
And what can you do on pricing in response to that? There does seem to have been a decent shift in price and mix, according to my colleagues at Bloomberg Intelligence, in your third quarter numbers. How much is this a genuine increase in pricing power that you see at Carlsberg?
Well, pricing power is one thing, but we also look at the channel mix. We have our alcohol-free brews really working well for us. Craft and specialty is growing. So for 2022, we look at a mix of value management, as we call it. We will also look at the pricing. We will further develop our channel focus. So there are different ways and different levers to mitigate the real challenge for 2022.
Kees, where you've seen strong volume growth in Asia, do you get a sense that any of this is about restocking, about making sure that people have enough for the Asian New Year celebrations? They come early next year, but maybe it is too early for that. What do you think is driving that volume growth in Asia?
Well, for Q3, it was basically our underlying business. We have a strong business, especially in China. There we have our so-called big city strategy that really works well for us. We have a local brand called Wusu, which is a very strong brand. We have our international brand portfolio, like Carlsberg and Tuborg, and these brands are growing very well in China. So for Asia, the story is very much to come through COVID in the remainder part of the year, and hopefully very much so in the first part of next year, whilst our China businesses continue to perform very well.
You mentioned your concerns around Eastern Europe and around Russia, Kees. What are you bracing for when you look ahead to the winter, the Northern Hemisphere winter? What are you factoring in on that front?
Well, it's difficult to forecast. To a certain extent, the good thing in Russia is that we are not that much depending on the on-trade. As you know, at the moment that there's a lockdown, is very much in on-trade, so where people cannot go to pubs or restaurants anymore. In a market like Russia, we are much more depending on the off-trade, and even in the first and the second wave in Russia, the COVID waves in Russia, we have not seen that much impact on our business.